We will continue. In his Back to Godhead, Abhay was making propaganda against the atheistic view. In Hope Against Hope, he frankly admitted that 80% of the people he met while selling to back to Godhead were atheists. Sometimes we meet gentlemen of up-to-date taste and try to make them interested in matter of back to Godhead. They say very frankly that they have not only no interest in such theistic subject, but also they condemn the attempt to bring back people in general to the path of back to Godhead. They don't want to make advancement. They don't want to see other people make any advancement. Blind lead the blind. According to this gentleman, economic conditions of the Indian people deteriorated on account of their too much faith in God. And the sooner they forget everything about Godhead, it is better for them. Look at that nonsense. But we cannot agree with this atheistic conclusion of such up-to-date gentlemen devoid of the sense of Godhead. Very good. So Abhay argued that although independent India was now educating her citizens in godless materialism, in US also there used to be that they can sing the song of God, but now in the school they prohibit it. They just want to forget God. That's how the training, and we feel proud that we are sending the children in a very nice school. So much illusion. Haribol. Abhay argued that although independent India was now educating her citizens in godless materialism, her economic conditions were not improving. When you lose the God, you lose everything. Many Indians did not even have the bare necessity of life. He cited that 120,000 were unemployed just in Delhi. And this age of Kali, we will see it will become more and more difficult. Some of the well-posted government servants or some of the fortunate businessmen may feel themselves happy, but 90% of their brother citizens do not know how to meet both hands together. And therefore, the economic conditions is definitely not satisfactory. So Prabhupada is putting that atheist down. The economic conditions is not improving because people are becoming God conscious. Haribol. Prabhupada will never leave them alone. He quoted former United States President Harry S. Truman as saying that national independence means that the citizens should have a comfortable life. What a nice President Henry Truman, huh? So if they were the case, said Abhay, where was India's independence? His point was that all attempts at happiness and prosperity are unlawful as long as they fail to recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord. An atheistic civilization could never produce peace, and that's what we are seeing all around the world. Fighting, war, no peace, socially, nationally, or community-wise, or personally. Everybody is suffering like anything. So in that progressive ambition and unsatiated lust, Abhay wrote as follows. There is no dearth of money But there is a dirt, D-E-A-R-T-H, I don't know if I'm pronouncing properly, a peace in the world. The whole human energy having been diverted to this money-making business. This is the thing is keeping entrapped in materialistic life. Everybody wants to improve their living conditions. It has certainly increased the cheap money-making capacity of the total population, but the result is that such unrestricted and unlawful inflation of money has created a bad economy and has enabled us to manufacture huge costly weapons of destroying the result of such cheap money-making business. This is true. I remember that my father used to earn 7 rupees a month. That was his salary. But from their 7 rupees a month salary, they were able to buy the gold. They were able to save the money. So what is this economic development that we feel? Now we are making 6 figure and still we are not happy. And with the 7 rupees, people were happy. And just what? 80 years ago, 90 years ago? How much degradation is happening, we should see that. And if we don't train our children, those things, we are not doing any good to our children. The authorities of big money-making countries, instead of enjoying peace, we now engage in making important plans as to how they can save themselves from the modern destructive weapons. And as a matter of fact, a huge sum of money is being thrown into the sea for making an experiment on such dreadful weapons. Haribo. Such experiments are having carried out not only at huge cost, but also at cost of many poor lives, binding thereby such a nation in laws of karma. If the whole world just don't spend the money on the defense budget, how much money each country should have that they can get rid of all these hungers and provide a good situation for all the citizens. Why we want to have more land than what you have given? Just for that, people are fighting. They want to expand their kingdom, detrimental to everyone. Those who unlawfully accumulated money would find it snatched away by taxes for wars and others, agents of illusory nature in the shape of medical practitioners, lawyers, tax collectors, societies, constitution, so-called sadhus, famines, earthquake, and many such calamities. And that's what it is happening. We are not honestly earning the money. That's the problem, because the money we are getting in our heart is already polluted. How can we be happy? A miser who hesitated to purchase a copy of the Back to Godhead by the dictation of illusory nature spent up 20,000 rupees for a week's ailments and died at the end. A similar thing happened when a man who refused to spend a paisa for the service of the Lord spoiled 30,000 rupees in litigation affairs between members of the home. That is the law of nature. I have seen some devotees also. They get into this litigation and spend so much money. It's very, very hard to understand. A worker in a New Delhi post office, noticing the title of the magazine Abhay was sending abroad, took the opportunity to argue his atheistic opinion with Abhay. This personality, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, all they fight with this atheist Mayavadis. It was all spread and lots of misgiving was created that the Brahmin is the one who take birth in a Brahman family, but they smoke ganja. And Krishna clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita, by actions only you become Brahmin, not by taking birth in a Brahman family. So Srila Prabhupada is bottling up with that atheistic opinion. The postmaster was an Arya Samaji, and he was talking to me about the paper Back to Godhead. He raised the question, quote, if we do our duty nicely, then what is the use of worshipping God? How do you know that you are doing the right duty if you don't have the knowledge? So if we become honest, if we become moral, if we do not do anything which is harmful to anyone, if we act in this way, then what is the need of this? Unquote. Because our paper's name was Back to Godhead, he was indirectly protesting, quote, what is the use of propagating this philosophy of Godhead if we act nicely? Unquote. That is the Arya Samaji's view, how to avoid God. Prabhupada is so straight, thunderbolt. So I replied that if one is not God conscious, he cannot be a moralist. He cannot be truthful. He cannot be honest. And this is the point of our view. You study the whole world just on these 3 points: morality, honesty, dutifulness. But if he is not God conscious, he cannot continue such things. To revive all these good qualities in society, you first have to invoke God consciousness. A Delhi man noticing Abhay distributing Back to Godhead remarked, where is Godhead? Can you show me God? Abhay replied to the challenge. But he also pondered a deeper reply as he moved throughout the city during the day. On returning to his room, he began an article. Where is Godhead? Is it possible to see him? That's what Prabhupada do. Any question come on the discussion, he put into the Back to Godhead. Educate the people. In the Secretariat building in New Delhi, there is an inscription on the stone that liberty does not descend upon a people, but it has to be earned before it can be enjoyed. Actually, this is the fact. And we have seen that much sacrifice had to be rendered by the people of India before they could gain Swaraj. But in the matter of Godhead, some irresponsible people ask, where is God? Can you show me? Have you seen God? These are some of the questions put forward by some irresponsible men who want to have everything very cheap. If for attaining a temporary false sense of liberty in this material world, so much labor and sacrifice has to be requisitioned, is it possible to see Godhead, the absolute truth, so cheaply? To see God means complete liberty from all conditions. But is Godhead an attending orderly so that he may be present at my command? The atheist, however, demands like that, as if Godhead is his paid servant. And he thinks that Godhead is an imaginary thing otherwise. He would have appeared before us as soon as the demand to see him is made. Haribol. One time, while he was walking on a secluded street, pursuing his back to Godhead duties, a stray cow, the kind commonly seen wandering the street of any Indian town or city, suddenly charged him, goring his side with her horn, and knocked him down. Haribol. At first, he couldn't get up, and no one came to help him. As he lay there, he wondered why it had happened. Summer came, and the 110-degree heat made it almost intolerable to spend time out of the doors. Hot, dust-laden winds blew in the city street. Street-side hawkers closed their businesses during the day. In early May, during 112-degree heat, a man collapsed in the street and died of heart stroke. Bhai Abhay ignored the heat and the ordinary limitations of the body. One day, while delivering back to Godhead to various addresses in the city, Prabhupada, how much he did it. Abhay suddenly began reeling, half unconscious, overcome by the heat. At that very moment, an acquaintance of his, a man he had approached during his preaching, happened to be passing by in his car. And he took Abhay to a doctor. The doctor diagnosed him as a victim of heart stroke and ordered him to rest. So this is not only during the Jaladuta, in Delhi also. On June 28th, Abhay produced the 8th consecutive fortnightly edition of the year, and a front page article condemning both materialistic family life and false renunciation of family life. It had been almost 2 years exactly since he had left his home and taken to the Vanprastha order. And his comment on family life seemed autobiographical as well as scriptural. He quoted a statement by Prahlad Maharaj from Srimad Bhagavatam as follows. Persons who are always disturbed in mind with cares and anxieties of household affairs may quit off the place which is the black hole temporary abode, family life, to kill oneself and take shelter unto the lotus feet of personality Godhead by entering into the forest. And he admitted the management of a family is more difficult than that of an empire. But trying to avoid family life by living in the jungle without the real spirit of renunciation was monkey renunciation. Prabhupada used very often. In the jungle, there were many monkeys who lived naked, ate fruits, and kept female companions. The real remedy lies in the act of accepting the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. That makes one free from all cares and anxieties of life. That makes one able to see Godhead always and everywhere. So if you are not feeling free of the anxiety, we should know we are far from Krishna. Haribol. A real renounced life, therefore, was possible without going into the forest. Even if one remained in the dress of a householder, he could be free from cares and anxieties by engaging himself in devotional service. Hari Bol. On September 1, US President Eisenhower condemned the Soviet secret testing of a nuclear bomb equal to 1 million tons of TNT and scoffed at the Soviets' claim for peace. In Mid-East, Egypt's Nasser nationalized the operation of the Suez Canal, causing an international crisis. On September 20, 81 nations met at the UN to form a new international agency to help tame the atom for peaceful purposes. Abhay saw some of the headlines and heard talk of the latest news from gentlemen he visited. He frankly told them that without Krishna consciousness, the promises of the cooperation by the politicians were all phantasmagoria. Haribo. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has said that if only one soul could be turned into a pure devotee, hear this very nicely, his mission would be a success. So it's not easy. Yet sometime Abhay became overwhelmed when he thought of how small he was, how much work had to be done on behalf of Krishna, and how difficult it was to convince even one conditioned soul. Hari Bol. Chapter 9, A Residence of Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada is describing in his own words. I was sitting alone in Vrindavan. What a glorious time. I really relish some of the place at every Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri. Some have the sacred place where your soul becomes so peaceful and jubilant. Take this ambient and carry with you when you come to US, and you can put yourself in that place and you can still relish. Wonderful thing. So I was sitting alone in Vrindavan, writing. My god brother insisted me, Bhakti Vedanta Prabhu, you must do it without accepting the renounced order of life. Nobody can become a preacher, unquote. So insisted. Not he insisted, but practically my spiritual master insisted. He wanted me to become a preacher. So he forced me through his godbrother. You accept. So unwillingly, I accepted. Srila Prabhupada described. What time is it? Okay. The passenger cars behind the locomotive moved forward almost silently, thumping at a slow rhythm over the tracks. The train pulled out of the station, past freight yards, a neighborhood of rundown tenements, the old Delhi fort, the garbage dump as Nizamuddin with its hundreds of crows and vultures flying overhead, and then past a marble dome, red sandstone mosque. Seated in a third-class compartment, his luggage stored beneath his seat, Abhay could see factory workers walking near the tracks, carrying their lunches in metal tiffins, and then the factories surrounded by hut of mud and straw. That's a unique thing. If you see all this, near the railway station is all the poor people stays. He passed the thatched roof and tarpaulin tents, the cow dung fires that smoke into the morning air, the tall stacks of the Indraprastha's electrical powerhouse, spread out a different smoke, and surely black cloud poured back from the locomotive. He saw red and violet wildflowers blooming from bramble bushes at trackside, and beyond he saw the road to Mathura, with its border of fruitless kikar trees. It was the morning train to Agra, and there were few passengers. Abhay would be riding as far as Mathura and then traveling by Tanga to Vrindavan. He had ridden wildly the Indian Railway, especially in 1920s, 30s and 40s, when he had traveled on business in Bengal, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. He had been to Vrindavan several times. In his childhood, reverish over the train timetables, it had been the first place he had thought of visiting. His first visit was in 1925, had been put a brief pilgrimage while he had been in a nearby Agra on business. Then again Prabhupada visited Vrindavan in 1932. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had been in Vrindavan on parikrama, and Prabhupada met, if you remember, earlier we read in Koshi, near Koshi. That had been a memorable visit. Abhay had heard him speak at Koshi, right there. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had marked him. He likes to hear. That's the qualification. And then at Radhakund, 3 years later, he had been with his spiritual master again in 1935. So remember 1925, 1932, 1935, Prabhupada met his spiritual master. But he had never gone like this to live there. Dressed in a simple white dhoti, his hand in his bead bag, fingering his japa beads, he looked out the window, quietly chanting the holy name of Krishna. Haribol. The train passed through the dense thickets of Faridabad and into agriculture fields, with their interspread patches of wheat, dal, and sugarcane, beginning at trackside and stretching for half a mile to the dry, uncultivated land that continued as far as the eye could see. The train sped faster. Rural villages drifted past the window. An hour out of Delhi, the land was mostly flat and open, dotted with small villages. Occasionally, he would glimpse a striking old temple, but mostly it was the land, now barren, with a few palm trees, now cultivated with irrigated fields, under the expanse of blue sky and blazing sun. Haribol. Okay, we have 3-4 minutes. For a long time, Abhay had wanted to take shelter in Vrindavan, and now there was not obstacle. His purpose remained the same. He would write back to Godhead and deliver it to the printer in Delhi fortnightly. As long as he could afford to travel, he would return to Delhi to distribute back to Godhead. But he would live in the shelter of Vrindavan. He had in mind the room at the Vansi Gopalji temple near Kesighat, a rooftop room that commanded a view of almost all the Vrindavan. I saw that picture somewhere, I don't know. And since his 1953 visit from Jhansi, he had kept in touch with the temple managers. So 25, 32, 35, and 53. Haribol. In moving to Vrindavan, Abhay was following his predecessors, spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and Bhakti Vinod Thakur had had their house at Radhakund and had preached in Vrindavan. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur had lived either in Vrindavan or in Navadvip, near the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. So I think it's 6:53. We should stop. The devotee may have to perform that household affairs, go to the work, earn some money, and help Srila Prabhupada mission. So we should stop here, and before we leave, I would like to offer sincerely my deepest humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis lotus feet. Without their support, I don't think that I will be here where I am in my devotional practice without their support. So I'm really in debt to you all. And this is the way that we can remain steadfast with the companies and devotees association. So I'm very fortunate to have you all in my life. So I would like to offer my humble obeisances. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you very much. And still I need some more days. Then we will again extend up to the 8 o'clock.